I think that may be Miss Medina that just came on.
Judge, I believe that's my client. He decided he wanted to, or for ACO provider services, he wanted to join in case I needed him to give testimony.
I think, I think that's actually Miss Medina, because I recognize the last 3 digits.
Oh.
It should be her.
Okay, so I'm going to recall CL 211871-I. We are back on the record on the previous case and back from a brief break. Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Daniel Gonzalez for plaintiffs. We're ready to proceed.
All generations and Angelica Becerra are ready to proceed.
Your Honor, Aldo Lopez for ACO Provider Services and Rocio Nunez, we're ready to move forward. And Judge, I will let you know, I spoke to my client, and so he confirmed that they did receive the TRO. So he was just confused on the paperwork. He thought it was the petition. So I apologize for that to the court and to Mr. Gonzalez. So ACO providers did receive it, and I haven't been able to speak to Ms. Nunez, so whether she did or not, but I'm here for both today.
Okay, so Mr. Lopez, in all fairness, as I've extended courtesies to your opposing counsel, do you want to move forward today? I mean,
yeah, Your Honor, if it's on the injunction, I think we can move forward. I think the facts of this case are pretty clear.
okay. Let me go ahead and admit one more person that's coming in.
And that's my client, Your Honor.
Okay. So who are we having testify today that needs to be sworn in?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Socorro Medina, she's appearing via phone. As earlier, we're experiencing some technical difficulties in regards to her hearing us. So she's called in. It's at 915 and then 3 2s at the very end.
Okay, Ms. Medina, can you hear us now?
Yes,
Okay. And then who else do you have?
Yes, Your Honor, I have as well Mr. Joe Flores. He's labeled as host. He's appearing via video, but he's calling in so that we can hear him audio.
Okay.
And then I have as well as Patricia Espinosa. She should be there in the same Zoom as Vilma Pineda.
Okay. And Ms. Espinosa, can you hear me? Okay. Mr. Flores, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. And then continue.
What was that, Your Honor? I apologize.
You continue after Patricia Espinosa?
Yes, Vilma Pineda.
Okay.
And then Miss Angelica Becerra.
Okay.
Then Neftali.
Mr. Guajardo?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And well, if Rocio Nunez is here, well, she's not here. She was going to be one of them.
Who's not here?
Rocio Nunez.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, and Maria Montes de Porras. Is she here? Was she able to make it, Miss Pineda?
no, she was not.
Okay. That was to be one of the witnesses as well, Your Honor, but as just stated, she's not going to be able to appear today.
Okay. Anyone else?
I believe that's it, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Medina, I know you're on the phone, but I'm going to trust that you're going to raise your right hand. Mr. Flores, Ms. Espinosa, Ms. Pineda, Ms. Becerra, and Mr. Guajardo, all raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Ms. Medina.
Yes,
Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Pineda.
yes,
Ms. Becerra. Ms. Becerra. We cannot hear you.
Yes.
Ms. Espinosa
I do, Your Honor.
and Mr. Guajardo.
Yes.
Okay, you may lower your hands. And is anyone invoking the rule?
Your Honor, I'd like to, just because I don't know who all of these witnesses are.
Okay, who's your first witness, Mr. Gonzalez?
Ms. Medina, Your Honor, Socorro.
Okay, then everyone else, please listen carefully. I'm gonna place you back in the waiting room. Once it is your turn to testify, we will bring you back in. You are already under oath. Do not be talking to one another. I know Ms. Pineda and Ms. Espinosa, you're gonna be on your honor, okay? One is gonna testify and the other one will testify, okay? And so, until you are called, you will be in the waiting room. It may be some time, okay? Do not disconnect unless we bring you in and tell you to disconnect or send you a message to disconnect, okay? There is a feature on the chat. So if we have a message to send to you as a group or individually, we will do it through that chat feature, okay? Okay.
Judge, I have a clarification here. This invoking of the rule would not apply to my client Angelica Becerra, since she's a party, and Mr. Guajardo, and it probably is the corporate rep of All Generations. So
Okay,
he should be excused from.
And Your Honor, similar announcement from Mr. Joe Flores. He is a plaintiff essentially in this matter, representative of Volver a Casa.
That's correct.
And Your Honor, also for Mr. Dudan, who's the ACO rep.
okay, I already placed Ms. Pineda and Ms. Espinosa in the waiting room, which looks to be the only ones at this time that need to be in there. Is that correct?
Seems so, Your Honor, I believe so.
Okay, so Mr. Gonzalez, Ms. Medina has been sworn in, so you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Medina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Medina, for the record, can you please state your full name?
Socorro Medina.
Ms. Medina, where are you currently employed?
En Volver a Casa Home Health.
Do you know a Angelica Becerra?
Yes, I know. I know her by phone. She was my supervisor.
And how do you know her?
I know her through phone and through message. I never met her in person.
So just for clarification, she was your supervisor at one point.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does she still work for Volver a Casa?
I know that she is not working for Volver a Casa no more.
Okay. Did Angelica contact you after she left Volver a Casa?
Yes,
How did she contact you?
she contacted me through message. That was the first time, and by phone 2 times.
In regards to the first time by message, what did she say?
Your Honor,
He
objection,
want me to-
hearsay.
Your Honor,
She want me. She
party
want.
opponent, Your Honor.
Hold on, Ms. Medina. Hold on, you need to, when the attorneys are talking, one objects, you need to wait for me to make my ruling and hear arguments, and then we'll bring you back in. Okay, Mr. Lopez, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Judge, it's all right. I'm going to retract my objection.
Okay. Ms. Medina, Mr. Gonzalez, you may proceed.
Yes, Ms. Medina, what did she say to you via text the first time?
She sent me a text message. She want me to cover one client on the weekend.
Okay,
And I told her that I cannot do it. I mean, because that was Sunday.
okay. And to your understanding, was this particular client or patient, I'm sorry, a patient of Volver a Casa?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. And after that text, what happened?
She contacted me by phone. She tried me to reconsider to go with the client. But that point, I knew that she was not working with Volver a Casa no more, because I called the home main house, and they told me that she was no longer with us. There was Miss Vilma, the supervisor, and she was my supervisor before.
Okay. Just a few more questions, please. After that communication, did you have any other communication with Miss Angelica?
Yes, the last time was like 2 weeks ago, and she wanted me to go work with her at her company. And she asked me if I knew another home care assistant to let them know to call her, because she needs more people to work for her.
Was she asking about any other employees of Volver a Casa?
She asked me, but she don't say exactly Volver a Casa. She say another home care assistant. And the only home care assistant that I know is from Volver a Casa.
No more further questions, Your Honor, at this point.
Judge, I don't know who would go first.
Well, it's up to you all. I mean, Mr. Lopez's client is named before your All Generations, and also Mr. Nunez is also named before Ms. Becerra. So, I mean,
Your Honor, I'll defer to Mr. Rodriguez since they're related to his client. I don't mind going third.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Ms. Medina, where do you live?
I live in El Paso, Texas.
Okay, have you ever worked in Hidalgo County, Texas?
What you mean?
Let me ask you, have you ever lived in Hidalgo County, Texas?
No, sir.
And
I
when you
work in I'm sorry?
No, good. Has all your work for Volver been in Hidalgo County, I mean in El Paso, Texas?
I work for Volver a Casa here in El Paso, Texas. Yes, sir.
Okay. And where does Ms. Becerra live, if you know?
You, who?
Ms. Angelica Becerra, where does she live?
I have no idea. I don't know where she lives.
Okay, well, she was your supervisor, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
She was my supervisor, but I never met her on personally. I just have through phone and through message.
Okay, now you said that she would call you by phone,
Yes, twice.
and do you still have her phone number?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and can you tell us what area code comes out on your phone when she called?
Her phone 1 second. Her area code, right?
Yes, is that the same area code that you have on your phone?
Let me see, because I'm afraid if I going to look for the number on my phone, I might disconnect you, and I don't want to do that. Let me check, please.
No, just let me withdraw the question. Okay, so you don't know where she lives, is that correct?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. Now, you said that she called you to go cover for one of her patients. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
correct.
And where did that patient live?
She didn't say. She just said then that was for Sunday, and it's going to be around 5 or 6 hours on Sunday. And I had to tell her no, because I try to keep Sundays off.
Okay, you also said that that was a patient of Volver. Is that correct?
I believe so. I don't know. She was my supervisor, and look, when the supervisors call us to cover for a client, we need to let them know if we can do it or we cannot do it. So when she called me on that, I'm sorry. Let me get back that. When she sent me a message, I was believed then she was my supervisor still. But we have too many troubles because they left the clients without attention for more than 2 or 3 weeks. So I tried to, what I did, I tried to call her on the phone, my supervisor's phone, right?
I'm going to objection.
So she never answered me. She never answered me.
Hold on. Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
Objection not responsive.
Sustained.
Ms. Medina, the client
Yes.
or the patient that she called you about to cover for her on a weekend, that was a patient of what agency?
I don't know. I assume that was for Volver a Casa because she was my supervisor for Volver a Casa when she sent me that text message.
Okay.
And her number, I'm sorry, I get back to that number, to her number. Her number is 915-704-7356.
Okay, that's
She called me from this phone number.
okay. And 915 is the area code for El Paso, Texas. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Okay. And the patient that she told you to cover for her, you don't know whether she was a patient of Volver or anybody else. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But she was my supervisor
I
from
understand.
Volver a Casa.
Okay, now that patient that she asked you to go cover for her, you don't know how that patient got to All Generations or Miss Angelica Becerra. Isn't that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
Yeah, you don't know how Miss Angelica Becerra had that patient.
No, I don't know, sir.
Okay, so you know if the
You just asked
patient,
me to cover.
okay. Working in that area, you know that a patient has a right to select their healthcare providers, doctors, home health nurses, correct?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes, you work with patients. You do
Yes.
know, or you have been trained that federal law says that a patient has a right to select their providers.
Your Honor, respectfully, objection, argumentative, talking about federal law, Your Honor, arguing what exactly is federal law.
Judge, all home health workers are trained regarding patient rights.
He's just making a statement with the patient rights. Overall, go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez. You might want to rephrase it so she can
Okay.
understand. I'm not sure she's understanding you.
Ms. Medina, a patient for a home health or a daycare center, they have a right to select who their providers would be.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know how this patient that Ms. Becerra asked you to go cover for her, that patient got to Ms. Becerra or All Generations, correct?
I don't know. I don't know, sir.
Okay, pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, do you want to?
Just a couple of questions. Ms. Medina, have you worked with Rocio Nunez at all?
I did. She was my supervisor too. She was before, Miss Angelica, sí, Miss Angelica.
Okay. And do you know where Miss Nunez lives?
Rocio Nunez.
Yes.
No, I do not.
You don't know what city she lives in?
She lives here in El Paso, but I don't know, like the address. I don't know.
Okay, no, that's fine. Miss Medina, have you done any work, or let me ask you this way. Is El Paso the only city that you do work in?
No, sir.
Where else do you
I
work?
was working like home care assistant, like home assistant in Connecticut, in Washington State, and I get my how you say my they train me and I get certified in Washington State.
Okay.
And
Now,
here in El Paso, Texas.
so how long have you been working in El Paso?
3 years
Okay. And in those 3 years, is El Paso the only place you worked?
in Volver a Casa.
No, just in the city of El Paso. For the last 3
Can you
years.
repeat the question?
Sure.
For the last 3 years?
For the last 3 years, is the city of El Paso the only place that you have worked?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done any work in Hidalgo County, Texas?
No, sir.
Okay, so you wouldn't have done any work in McAllen, Edinburgh, or any of the surrounding cities?
No, sir.
Do you know if Rocio Nunez has done any work out there?
No, sir. I don't know.
So as far as you know, your work with Ms. Nunez has only been in El Paso?
Yes.
And do you have any kind of working relationship with ACO Provider Services?
Can you repeat?
Yes. Do you know the company ACO Provider Services?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Gonzalez?
Your Honor,
Redirect?
just maybe 3 questions on redirect. If I may, Your Honor.
You may.
Ms. Medina,
Yes.
yes. After your phone conversation with Angelica regarding that client, you formulated an opinion that that client was a client of Volver a Casa.
Objection leading.
When
Sustained, you need to rephrase it, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes. Socro, when you spoke with Angelica and she mentioned a particular client, after that conversation, did you formulate an opinion of who that client was or where that client was getting service from?
No, when she sent me that text message on my mind, she still was my supervisor. Yeah, I was thinking that she still was my supervisor. That's why. And it's why when I tell her no, then I cannot cover that client through the message. I call the company in the main office.
Okay.
Because, like I say, that was long time without attending the patients, you know.
Yes.
And that surprised me when she wanted to go to cover for
That's
Sunday.
fine. That's fine, Ms. Medina, right there. Just 2 more questions. Going back, she did call you and ask you if you were interested in working for another company, correct?
Correct.
No more further questions, Your Honor.
I have no
Okay.
question, Judge.
Go ahead. No more questions?
No, Your Honor.
Question,
Okay, can the witness be excused?
she may be.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Medina, you can go ahead and disconnect now.
Yeah, por
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, who is your next witness?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, Your Honor. If I may call Patricia Espinosa.
Okay, Ms. Espinosa, you will be the next witness. And if Ms. Pineda can please wait in another room. Go ahead and unmute. Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Pineda will need to wait in another room.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, Gonzalez, you may proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. Apologize. Patricia, can you hear me?
Yes.
May I have your full name for the record?
Patricia Espinosa.
Where do you work, Ms. Espinosa?
I work with Volver a Casa.
Do you know a Rocio Nunez?
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
She used to be my supervisor with Volver a Casa.
Is she still your supervisor?
No, she's not.
To your knowledge, is she still working for Volver a Casa?
I don't think she is.
When's the first time you met Rocio Nunez?
I would say it was about the end of December, beginning of January.
December 2020, January 2021?
Yes.
And what type of interaction did you have with Ms. Nunez?
She showed up at a client's house so that I could sign the paperwork for my taking care of that particular client.
And she was there in a supervisory setting, so to speak.
Yes.
Did you ever have a particular communication with Rocio at a patient's home?
She went by after like the end of January, I would say maybe the beginning of February, to talk to me about the fact that she was leaving Volver a Casa and that if she got a new company, that if I was willing to come with her.
Okay. And just for clarifications, was it February, mid-February, or the end of February, or when?
I would think it was closer to the end of February.
Okay. What happened on or around March 4th?
On my March 4th, she called me to go ahead and go and apply if I wanted to, and I went in and applied, and then she called me back and said she had a client for me with 30 hours worth of work, and I told her I didn't want that many hours.
Okay. And for what agency was this for? Do you know?
For ACO.
Okay. And after you declined that particular client, what happened?
She told me she was glad that I had come on with her company because they're receiving a lot of clients that are coming in from Volver a Casa.
So, to your understanding, let me take back that. What was her reaction after she made that statement?
She seemed like she regretted saying that comment to me, but I didn't question it. I honestly didn't think anything of it.
And what was your reaction? How did that statement make you feel?
Well, I was surprised, but like I tell you, I'm not very inquisitive, so I didn't ask her what she meant or anything like that. I was just surprised that she mentioned specifically that clients were coming in from Volver a Casa to that other agency.
Yes, ma'am. And to your knowledge, no more further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Do you know Miss Becerra?
No, I don't.
As a witness, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Pineda. What city do you work in?
I'm sorry, Mr. Lopez, she's Miss Espinosa.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Sorry. I was just reading that. I apologize. I was reading the Zoom screen. Miss Espinosa, what city do you work in?
El Paso, Texas.
Okay. And do you know what city Miss Rocio Nunez works in?
Well, when she was with Volver a Casa, she worked in El Paso, Texas. And then with NCO, when she hired me, it was El Paso, Texas.
Okay. Are you still, and so who's your current employer?
Volver a Casa.
Okay. And so have you ever done any work for Volver a Casa out in Hidalgo County, Texas?
No, I haven't.
So your work's only been limited to El Paso, Texas.
Yes.
Do you know whether the clients that Ms. Nunez allegedly offered to you, if they were located in El Paso, Texas?
She said they were coming from Volver a Casa, but she didn't specify where they were from.
Okay. Do you do any work other than in El Paso, Texas?
No.
So if you were to service the patients, it would have had to have been in El Paso, Texas.
Yes.
And it wouldn't have been in Hidalgo County, cities such as McAllen, Edinburgh, or any of the surrounding areas.
No.
Now with Volver a Casa, do you have any kind of supervisorial position, administration position?
No, I'm a home health provider.
Okay. I've got nothing further for Ms. Espinosa, Your Honor.
Okay. Any
Just
other
one-
redirect?
Sorry, Your Honor. One more question on redirect. Yes, Ms. Espinosa, one more question.
Okay.
To your knowledge, are the patients of Volver a Casa satisfied with their services?
Objection, relevance.
That's fine, Your Honor. No more further questions.
Okay.
I just have one, Judge. Did you ever talk to Ms. Angelica Becerra or any other?
I don't know Miss Angelica Becerra.
Okay, so yeah, but my question was, did you ever talk to her on the phone or for any reason?
No.
Okay, pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes,
As far
Your
as
Honor.
we're concerned, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
And who's your next witness, Mr. Gonzalez?
If you may have a minute just to decide, 1 minute, Your Honor. Okay, Your Honor, if I may call Vilma Pineda.
Let me get her. Vilma, you're next.
Mr. Gonzalez, she's ready.
Oh, sorry about that, Your Honor. Yes, hello, Vilma, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Ms. Vilma, can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Vilma Pineda.
Where do you work, Ms. Pineda?
I work with Volver a Casa Home Care Services.
What is your position there?
I am the field supervisor.
Do you know a Angelica Becerra?
I know her over the phone, but I've never met her in person.
And essentially, how do you know her?
My mother is actually a client of Volver a Casa, and she receives provider services from this agency. Last year, when the COVID broke, I resigned my position and stayed home to be my mom's provider so that I wouldn't either expose her or just put her at risk of catching the virus. So Angelica, I don't know what time of the year, she was hired as a supervisor, and well, I needed to request some services. And when I called the supervisor phone, that's who I was speaking with, Angelica.
Okay. And do you know if Angelica, well, do you know her position at that time? The
Well,
title?
she identified herself as the current supervisor.
Okay. And if I may, you mentioned just now that you took a break during COVID. Can you give us a timeline of when you worked for Volver a Casa and then when you worked again?
Sure. I was hired by Volver a Casa as a supervisor in December of 2018. And when the COVID broke, I resigned. I actually notified Mr. Flores that I was going to resign in March or April and told him I would give him time to find a replacement. And the replacement wasn't found until the end of May. And I stepped out of the position around the first week of June.
And do you know who that replacement was?
It was Rocio Nunez. I actually did get to meet her and provided some of the training.
So she essentially took your position, or you gave it up and then she jumped in.
Correct.
Okay. Vilma, have you? Okay, hold on one second. Have you ever been to Hidalgo County?
Never.
Never. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. As a field supervisor, do you have access to client information?
Yes.
When you were working for Volver a Casa back in December 2018 to, when was it, June of 2020, correct?
Correct.
Was there any issues with missing client files or anything like that?
Not as far as I was concerned, no, sir.
Okay. And going back to Angelica, she mentioned that she was a supervisor.
Yes.
Okay. When you returned, or let me take a step back. During the time that you were providing for your mother, who were the supervisors at Volver a Casa?
Well, when I stepped down from the position, it was Rocio, and I want to say it was late February when I reached out and to the supervisor phone. At that time, I thought it was Rocio, but Angelica was the one that responded and introduced herself as the current supervisor.
And to your understanding, she was also a supervisor, just for clarification.
Yes, correct.
So under your knowledge impression, both Rocio and Angelica were supervisors, essentially the same position as you.
Yes.
At one point. When you returned back to Volver a Casa of March of this year, was there any issues with the client information without revealing any client, sensitive information?
Yes, when I first picked up the vehicle, equipment and forms, documentation was still inside the car. So I pulled everything and started to organize. I noticed that one of the binders was empty that contained potential client referrals. And that binder, when I left it, it had at least a year and a half worth of referrals in there. But when I received it, it was mostly empty, maybe just a few loose pages still in the pockets.
Okay. Do you know a Maria Montes?
I do. She is a client.
Okay. Do you know if she ever made contact with Rocio?
Not her contacting Rocio, I'm not aware of, no.
Since Rocio and Angelica left Volver a Casa, have you made any contact with patients that have transferred out of Volver a Casa?
I've talked to a few, Maria Montes being one of them. Mr. Flores and I made a visit. We were asking clients, pretty much like a survey, asking them why they had transferred out, trying to get information if it was something that we did wrong as far as customer care was concerned. And Maria Montes was one of them that we visited.
Okay. And you visited and spoke to other patients, right? Similar
Yes.
to Maria?
Yes.
And in your communication with them, did you formulate an opinion that they had been contacted by Rocio?
There was a couple, yes.
And how about Angelica?
With Angelica, the information came a different way about her contact. Is providers were actually calling me and telling me that Angelica was actually reaching out to them to go apply at their job, or that she had reached out to the clients to get them to
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
That's fine. I'm going to ask you another question, Vilma, okay?
Okay.
Some of these patients, you had asked them to testify today?
I did ask 3 of them if they would testify, yes.
And what did they say? Or,
Objection or hearsay.
yeah, before, I'll rephrase the question.
Okay, go ahead and rephrase.
Just a few more questions, Your Honor. After speaking with these clients, did you formulate an opinion of why they did not want to testify?
Objection, Your Honor, it's irrelevant and it's an improper question for an opinion.
Please
Your Honor.
rephrase, Mr. Gonzalez.
After speaking with some of these patients, in your opinion, why did they not want to testify?
A couple of them told me they were afraid.
You say, Judge.
Without, yeah, I understand, Your Honor.
That's what we call hearsay. You can't testify to anything that, like he said, she said. So just listen to Mr. Gonzalez, and he's going to try to rephrase it for you to be able to get your point across.
Okay.
Without saying exactly what they said, right? Your opinion of why they didn't want to testify, what was it?
Objection, Your Honor. May I take the witness under Vodar, Judge, very briefly?
Yes.
The opinion. Okay, ma'am, is the opinion you're about to express to the court, is that based on conversations that you had with the patients?
It's based on their demeanor and their reaction when I asked them if they would speak as to the happenings or the events. Yes.
Okay, so it's based partly on what they told you?
Partly on what they told me, but after I questioned them why, their answer was no.
Okay, but it's based on hearsay, basically on what they told you. Now, you also said something about it was based on their demeanor.
Yes.
Okay, what demeanor did they express or show to you or demonstrate to you?
Okay, because I did, when I asked, it was a face-to-face encounter. It wasn't over the phone. They're talking with me, and when I asked them if they would be willing to answer questions before a hearing, They just shut down. They don't want to answer anymore. They're just, their whole appearance just went down. And that was the end of the conversation.
Okay, and that was the totality of the basis for your opinion. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
As the witness, Your Honor, we renew our objection that it calls for hearsay based on hearsay and a subjective interpretation of somebody just shutting down, as you put it.
Your Honor, if I may respond to that, Your Honor, this was a present sense that she gathered, Your Honor. That's allowed under hearsay, Your Honor, if it's present sense. At that point in time, Miss Vilma had a present sense that they were afraid, that they were, again, as she mentioned, demeanor was low.
Judge, the only one that can express an opinion generally, except for on 2 occasions, are experts, which can rely on hearsay, medical providers that they use for their diagnosis. Those are the only situations where hearsay is allowed to buttress an opinion.
Mr. Gonzalez, that's sustained. The thing is that she seems to be just, she's giving her opinion as to what she observed, and most of which were body language. But before we move on, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to ask the attorneys to join the virtual chambers room.
Okay.
And so we will be off the record for just a brief moment. Please accept the invitation that comes out on your screen. Okay, let me just wait for my court reporter. And for the other attorneys to come back in. I think Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Lopez accidentally left the hearing. We'll wait for them to come back in. We're still not on the record. Okay,
Back.
and let me just get confirmation from my court report, okay? And we are back on the record. Okay, any more questions of Ms. Pineda?
Just two more, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Pineda.
Yes,
So you did ask for certain patients of Olvera Casa to testify today,
I did.
and they were unwilling.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear the question.
But they were unwilling to testify.
One was willing to testify, but because of her health, she wasn't able to be here.
Excuse me, Judge, my objection is that it's irrelevant whether a witness or the reason why a witness wants to testify or not testify.
Your Honor, I'm just explaining that you did make contact with some of these patients.
Okay, this,
Jury instructions for that the jury.
it's a yes or no, Ms. Pineda. Did you ask certain people to come and testify today?
Yes,
Okay, and the people that you asked, none came in. Is
correct.
that correct? Okay, let's stop it there.
Yes, Your Honor, that was my last question.
Okay, it's my turn, right? Or
Yes.
Ms. Pineda, all of the acts or actions that you have described to the court, they occurred in El Paso, Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, as far as the binder that was full at one point and then it was empty, you don't know who took the binder, is that correct?
There's no telling.
Okay. Pass the witness.
And Ms. Pineda, my name is,
Lopez?
yes, Your Honor. My name is Aldo Lopez, Ms. Pineda. All the clients that we've been discussing, are all those clients located in El Paso, Texas?
The ones that we're discussing as far as the questioning that was made to me,
Yes,
They're
ma'am.
all-
The ones that you've testified to, were all those clients located in El Paso County, Texas?
yes, that is correct.
Okay. And so you're not aware of Ms. Nunez or ACO Provider Services having any clients located in Hidalgo County, Texas, transferred to ACO Provider Services?
No,
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Any redirect?
Two more on redirect. Going back to that binder, Ms. Pineda, did Angelica have access to that binder?
as far as that job is concerned, yes,
Did Rocio have access
Yeah.
to that binder?
yes.
No more further questions, Your Honor.
I have no question, Judge.
Okay, can Ms. Pineda be excused?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Your
Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Pineda, you can disconnect now.
Okay,
And who is your next witness?
Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Joe Flores?
Okay, Mr. Flores. You can unmute the phone if you'd like.
We can't hear you yet. Mr. Flores. Okay, there you go. We still can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, you can proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. May I have your full name for the record?
Name is Joe, middle and initial L, last name Flores.
And what is your position at Volvera Casa?
I'm the owner and administrator.
Did you employ Rocio Nunez?
Yes,
And off the top of your head, how long did she work for you?
I can't answer that. I don't have her
No worries,
record.
I'll take back that question. Did you employ Angelica Becerra?
Yes,
What do you usually require of individuals before they become an employee of Volvera Casa to do?
when they're initially hired, they are asked to report to McAllen, Texas, to the office, to the corporate office, for a full week orientation.
And do they sign any documents there?
Yes, they sign several documents.
Is one of the documents a confidentiality and non-compete agreement?
Yes.
Is another document a confidentiality agreement of patient health information and personal information in accordance with HIPAA high-tech law?
That is correct.
Do they sign a confidentiality conflict/conflict of interest disclosure statement?
Yes.
Do they sign a legal remuneration slash non-solicitation agreement?
That is correct.
Sorry, I'm not a feedback.
Feedback.
A lot of feedback.
I don't know if Mr. Flores wants to check. Computer has now.
I'm checking my audio.
If anything, maybe move the cell kind of further away from the laptop computer a little bit. Is that better?
Okay. Right now?
Is that better? No echo? Okay.
Ms. Flores, is that better for you?
I'll have him talk and see.
Do they sign a privacy attest sheet?
Yes.
Do they sign a HIPAA privacy training acknowledgement form?
Yes.
Did Angelica Becerra sign these documents in Hidalgo County?
Yes, sir.
Did Rocio Nunez sign these documents in Hidalgo County?
Yes, sir.
And if they don't sign these documents, what occurs?
They're not employable.
Mr. Flores, when did you become aware that some of Vera Casa's patients were transferring to other agencies?
I don't have an actual date. I don't.
Was it sometime early this year?
No, it was last year.
What month?
And I cannot say without the documents in front of me.
Okay. Would you say you lost your first client, or patient, so to speak, about 6 months ago?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do when you found out that some of your patients were transferring out?
I was alerted by the intake coordinator. There were some unusual occurrences happening in El Paso where patients were being transferred to another agency. And we, as a administrator, what I do is I call the patients and I do a satisfaction survey to see the reason why they're transferring and if there is anything else I can do to have them stay with Volver a Casa.
Okay. Did you become aware that these patients were contacted by Rocio Angelica?
During the satisfaction surveys that were performed by me, patients were stating that Rocio was making direct contact with them, either by phone or in person, and making statements that she was still employed with Volver a Casa, but that Volver a Casa was opening another agency and that the patients needed to be moved to that agency.
Okay. Do you have a list of these clients that have transferred out from the past 6 months?
Yes,
And how many have transferred out in the past 6 months?
approximately 31 patients.
And is that normal?
No. We're in several regions. We're in Corpus Christi, Rio Grande Valley, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Eagle Pass, and El Paso. And this is the only region that this was happening.
And you've never experienced anything like this?
No.
And in regards to these 31 clients, the average, not the average, let me rephrase the question. In regards to these 31 clients, how much money would you be losing this year because of this loss?
On an average, about $500,000.
For all of these 31 patients?
Yes.
Do you believe if there is not a restraining order or an injunction that you will be immediately irreparable injury and damage done to Volver a Casa?
I'm sorry?
Do you believe that if there is not an injunction that you will continue to lose clients and be damaged?
Most definite.
And Mr. Flores, do you have by chance the confidentiality and non-compete agreement?
On me?
Yeah, in front of you.
No, sir, I don't.
Where is Volver a Casa's principal place of business?
The legal address is 1801 South 5th Street, Suite C and D, McAllen, Texas, 78503.
And the license is in McAllen, right, Hidalgo County?
The license is a license to do business in the state of Texas.
Okay. But again, your principal place of business is here in Hidalgo County.
Corporate offices in.
In regards to the non-compete agreement that I'm referring to, there's a statement that says that it is geographically limited to Hidalgo County. My question to you is, did you believe that because you have a principal place of business, because you have all your files in Hidalgo County, that any liability would be based out of there?
Objection,
rephrase?
relevance, Your Honor.
Also calls for a legal conclusion.
No more further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Flores, the agreement that you talk about that was signed by Ms. Becerra, you said that that she signed it. Was that in your presence?
Yes, sir, in front of me.
Okay, and who else was present?
My HR director.
And what's his or her name?
Her name is Valerie Gomez.
Okay. Now, you said that you had offices in Corpus Christi, El Paso, Hidalgo. Did you say also Eagle Pass,
That's correct.
Del Rio?
Eagle Pass.
Okay, and any other city?
The ones that I mentioned.
Well, what I wrote down was Corpus Christi, El Paso, Hidalgo, Eagle Pass, and I don't know if there was some others in San Antonio or not. Are there any others?
Offices, by what I mean offices, they're offices, they're not, they're physical offices, but they're not licensed office.
They're like satellite offices, right?
They're satellite offices, that's correct.
Okay, so, but you do have, or the Volver a Casa does have a physical presence in those places that we just mentioned. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you also, or Volver a Casa also has employees there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are all those employees in all those cities, before they are hired, are they required to come to Hidalgo County?
No, we have supervisors in that area that they're the ones that do the hire.
Okay, and do all the employees required to sign this confidential agreements that you were referring to?
That is correct.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear your answer, I'm sorry. Is that a yes or no?
Well, you need to be more specific as to what documents.
Well, the one that you're referring to, the confidentially non-compete agreement.
The non-compete agreement specifically, no.
Okay, so who are the only employees required to sign those non-compete?
Supervisors.
Okay, and all those supervisors in all those cities, are they required to come to Hidalgo County to sign?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, for the supervisors that work in Corpus Christi, for example, and Eagle Pass, does the non-compete have the county where the supervisor is going to be working, or do they all have Hidalgo County?
I don't have the document in front of me.
Okay, Your Honor, would the court activate the share screen?
Yes, sir. Give me one moment. It should be on.
Okay. Let me. This. Okay, Mr. Flores, I'm going to share with you the agreement that I believe that we're talking about. If I can get it to share here. Okay, can you see a document on your screen, Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that's Exhibit 1, Judge. I, served the parties with the exhibits that I was going to be using, and I believe our defendant's Exhibit number 1, which is the non-compete signed by Ms. Becerra, allegedly, is their Exhibit number A, I believe. Plaintiff Exhibit A. It's one and the same. Is that correct, Mr. Gonzalez? Okay. Okay, Mr. Flores, if you look at the Exhibit number 1, defendant's Exhibit number 1, I'm gonna take it all the way down to the signature page. And Angelica Becerra is what's printed here. Is that the one that you're claiming that you saw her sign?
That's
Mr.
correct.
Flores? Okay, now if we go further up, and it's exhibit number 1, defendant's exhibit number 1 is confidentiality and non-compete agreement. Is that the one that you were referring to or testifying earlier about, that the supervisors have to sign?
That is correct.
Excuse me?
I said that is correct.
Okay. Now, we go to restriction on interfering with the customer relationships. Do you see this paragraph is geographically limited to any location, storefront address, or place of business in Hidalgo County, Texas, where a covered client or customer is present and available for solicitation at that time. Do you see that?
I see it.
Okay, and my question is, do you have Ms. Becerra signing a non-compete agreement that covers El Paso, Texas?
Again, rephrase that question. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Okay, well, is there another agreement besides this one that Ms. Becerra signed that covers El Paso, Texas?
Our license covers El Paso, Texas, all of Texas, and this agreement is referencing all the clients that belong to Volver a Casa.
Objection not responsive. My question is, do you have another confidentiality and non-compete agreement that mentions Hidalgo County, El Paso County, Texas?
I
Or
don't
is
see
this
the
the
word
only-
El Paso.
Excuse me?
I don't see the word El Paso County on the agreement.
No, I understand that it's not in this exhibit. And my question is there some other exhibit that is a non-compete agreement that covers geographically El Paso, Texas? Yes or no?
What you're seeing is what they signed for.
Okay, and you don't have no others from Ms. Becerra, is that correct?
Provided all these documents to you and to the court.
Okay, so whatever you have provided to the court is the only documents that that you have signed by Ms.
Provided all the documents to the court.
Your Honor, we have some other exhibits that Ms. Becerra did sign.
Judge, I'm just trying to find out if there's another non-compete agreement besides this one.
We do have a non-solicitation agreement, Your Honor. And it's
Okay.
not this one.
I know, but Mr. Flores needs to answer Mr. Rodriguez's question as to this, the best that he knows how to answer it. And the way he, so Mr. Rodriguez's last question was if there's another agreement that has El Paso County, Texas, and Mr. Flores answered with, he didn't see El Paso, Texas on this. However, just make a last clarifying question that will make an effort to answer this, Mr. Rodriguez, and see if Mr. Flores understands you.
Mr. Flores, do you have or know of another document that is entitled confidentiality and non-compete agreement, but that mentions El Paso, Texas, instead of Hidalgo County, Texas? Yes or no?
Specifically, the word El Paso, Texas, I don't see it.
He came out on my end a little bit muffled, Judge, so maybe somebody can tell me what he said.
I can't hear him either.
If you could speak up, Mr. Flores, please.
I don't see the word El Paso County. Is that what you're asking? No, I don't see it.
That's not what I'm asking. I know that you don't see it in this document. I'm trying to find out if there's another document that does mention it, which is a non-compete agreement like this one.
And I answered to the court that all the documents have been turned in. So whatever documents you have at hand is what I have.
Well, I'm confused because Mr. Gonzalez says they haven't produced all the documents. That's why I need to find out or get an answer if there's another non-compete agreement that mentions El Paso.
Your Honor, if I may, or for clarification purposes.
Judge, maybe we can, he can stipulate that there is no other non-compete except this one. I mean, and then we can move on.
I mean, there needs to be a response, Mr. Gonzalez, as to whether, is this the only non-compete agreement that your client uses, or does he have another non-compete agreement?
Your Honor, in one of the exhibits that we have, it's essentially, there is a phrase that relates to competition, non-compete, Your Honor.
Okay, but I think what I'm understanding and the way I'm understanding the question is like, this exhibit that defense counsel is referring to is entitled Confidentiality and Non-Compete Agreement. And so is there only one of these that is titled like that, not referenced in anything else, just entitled like that? Is this the only confidentiality and non-compete agreement? That's the question.
Title that way, Your Honor? Yes.
Okay, so now Mr. Rodriguez knows that this is the only document that is entitled this way. Doesn't mean there's not one out there that references competition, but just entitled. Okay, so now we've got that clear. I'm not sure if you want to move on with the next subject matter.
I will move. Yes, Judge, I'll move on. Now, Mr. Flores, who prepared this this agreement, exhibit number 1, defendant's exhibit number 1?
I don't recall.
Ms. Becerra had nothing to do with the language that's used here in this agreement. Is that correct?
No, sir.
That's something or a document that you required her to sign as a condition of her employment. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this agreement was already a pre-printed form that you had that you gave supervisors to sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
So everything was drafted, or the language that's drafted in this agreement was from Volver a Casa. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Becerra had no input into the language that was being used in this agreement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, I'm going to refer you to 2.1 of the agreement. We're about covered clients and customers. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to read to you what it says. Then I'm going to ask you a question. It says covered clients and customers. First of all, this is what we're referring to, or you are referring to patients, like the type that the 31 that you're saying were transferred out of Volver a Casa to other agencies or to All Generations or ACO. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Covered clients and customer means those persons or entities. And then it says clients and customers, such as retailers, wholesalers, and self-distribution chains. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, now nowhere do you see patients, do you?
I see clients is the equivalent of a patient.
No, do you see patients in that document?
Before you proceed, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear Mr. Flores, and if I can't hear him, my court reporter can't hear him.
Okay.
Okay,
The word client is used interchangeably for the word patient. It's the choice of words.
My question is, you don't see patients anywhere there in that paragraph, do you?
I see clients, which is referred to patients.
Okay, and when you say you see clients and customers, and then you describe the type of clients and customers that you're referring to in this agreement as retailers, wholesalers, and self-distribution chains. Isn't that correct? Isn't that correct, Mr. Flores?
I'm reading, sir. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay, what was your question again?
Do you see the word patient anywhere?
Again, I see the word client as to refer patient.
Okay. Well, let me ask it this way. Where it says client and customers, and then you go on to describe such as, you do not mention patients. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. It says client.
Tell the court where there's patients. The word patient is used.
Can I answer the question? Yes, no?
yes, he's giving you an opportunity to answer
Okay.
the question. He
I don't want
said,
to keep that in mind.
go ahead.
I'm reading the question where it says client and then and customer.
Okay.
And the word customer is more specific. That's where we go into specifications of retailers, wholesalers, self-distribution. Clients meaning patients, and customers referring as retailers, wholesalers, self-distributors, chains, etc., etc.
Do you see a comma after clients?
I see an and.
Okay.
And it could be a comma. You can use and or a comma in English grammar.
Okay. That's right. Now, what sort of business is Volver a Casa? Is it like a daycare center or a healthcare center agency?
This is a cost services provider assistance services.
Okay. Mr. Flores, is it your contention that this agreement applies to Corpus Christi, El Paso, Del Rio, or Eagle Pass rather, Hidalgo County, if Mesera were to live in any of those areas that I just mentioned?
Strongly agree, yes, sir.
Okay, so this agreement basically covers statewide, is that correct?
Our license covers statewide.
I'm sorry, didn't hear. What did
Our
you say?
license is a statewide license.
Okay, I know your license covers statewide, but I'm talking about this agreement. Is it your contention that it covers statewide?
It is my contention, yes.
Yes, okay. And all you know regarding the patients is what other people have told you?
I'm sorry?
All you have heard, all you know about the transfer of patients is what other people have told you. Is that correct?
Who is other people?
Well, people in your agency, didn't you say that somebody told you and that's how it came to your attention?
Well, other people there's people in my agency, supervisors,
Yeah. But
clients themselves that refers patients.
But you yourself do not have any personal knowledge that Angelica Becerra solicited anybody, any of your patients. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
What did you say?
I said, yes, I do.
Oh, you have personal knowledge?
Yes, sir.
And you saw and heard Alicia Becerra soliciting a client or
No,
patient?
the client complained to me.
No, I'm talking about personal knowledge where you yourself are there and witness it.
Your Honor, I think personal knowledge is quite broad, Your Honor, in the sense that it could include contact, just your personal interaction with people equals your personal knowledge on a situation. It's his person. And he, speaking with his clients, gained that personal knowledge.
That's not, it's not at all what personal knowledge means, Judge. Let me rephrase. Mr. Flores, did you personally hear Ms. Becerra soliciting one of your patients?
No,
Okay. Did you personally see Ms. Becerra contact any person, any of your patients?
No.
As a witness, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, do you have any questions of Mr. Flores?
I do, Your Honor. And then also I'd like, I guess, if I could share my screen. Also, I don't know if Mr. Rodriguez needs to take his down first.
Yeah, I will. Let's see.
So, Mr. Flores, my name is Aldo Lopez. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Nunez and ACO Provider Services. I'm going to refer you to what was attached to your original petition as Exhibit A. And this is titled Confidentiality and Non-Compete Agreement between Rocio Nunez and the company. Do you recognize this document?
yes, sir.
And is this the agreement that you would have had Ms. Nunez sign as a condition of her employment with your company?
That's correct.
Okay. And so I'm going to scroll down to paragraph 2.3 of this agreement titled Restriction on Interfering with Client and Customer Relationships. Does this agreement say that this paragraph is geographically limited to any location, storefront, address, or place of business in Hidalgo County, Texas?
It says comma, where a covered client or customer, and then I don't see I can't read the rest. You need to move it to the side.
Oh, sure. And actually, I think that's probably on your screen. And so, Mr. Flores, I'll represent to you that it says where a covered client or customer is present and available for solicitation at that time.
Comma, where a covered client or customer is, I can read, available for solicitation at that time. Correct.
Okay. And so would you agree that this paragraph says that it's limited to Hidalgo County, Texas?
I disagree.
And why is that?
It says, comma, where a covered client is a patient that's on services with Volvera Casa Provider Services. That is considered a covered client. That's on contract with Volvera Casa, an assigned contract.
Okay,
No, that's
before you proceed, Ms. Flores, are you able to hear him?
No, I need him to speak up. I couldn't, he cut off.
I'm not hearing every word.
Yeah, I think I can't hear him, and if I can't hear him, my court reporter can't hear him. So I know he's tried to put, the camera so that we can see him while he's talking. But if he puts the phone closer, I think we're going to get the feedback. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I can't hear him. He sounds very far away and muffled. Perhaps, Mr. Flores, it's fine with me if you disconnect from the video portion and just stick to the telephone if you'd like to. Or if you want to see what is occurring, then maybe you can log off and log back in very quickly, because it's posing a problem in hearing the audio coming from the telephone.
And Judge, I think we're going to run into a problem with that. If he turns off the video, will he still be able to see the screen share?
No, that's what I'm saying. He needs to maybe log off and log back in.
Okay. I know when we've had this problem before, if he mutes his computer, it should kill the feedback.
He did mute it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
It's muted.
He did mute
The
it.
computer is muted.
I'm not sure if you can you bring the phone closer to you. And let me, okay, Mr. Lopez, maybe proceed and let's see if we can hear him.
Sure. And then, Mr. Flores, I'm going to have you look at section 2.4 also, which is titled Restriction on Unfair Competition. Do you see that paragraph?
Yes, sir.
Now, would you agree that it has that same limitation from paragraph 2.3, where it's limited to Hidalgo County, Texas?
The word limited to conduct within Hidalgo County, Texas.
So you would agree that that is present in this non-compete agreement?
I can't see the whole document.
And I'm not asking you to see the whole document. I just need you to look at that paragraph 2.4, which I have highlighted.
Again, correct, the whole paragraph.
I didn't hear his answer.
Of the video.
I still can't hear him.
Are you able to see the whole paragraph now, Mr. Flores?
No, sir.
What portion aren't you seeing?
Cuts off where it says Hidalgo County, Texas. With
I can't, he is not, we can't understand what he's saying. I don't know if someone can assist him to log off and log back in on that computer, but the phone, it's not picking up good audio. He sounds very muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to speak slowly.
Okay.
The paragraph cuts off at the word which, and then the second sentence it cuts off on the word company.
Okay. And so
I'm not able to read the whole statement, sir.
Okay, but you do see the portion where it says this restriction is limited to conduct within Hidalgo County, Texas.
Again, that's partial. I'm only reading partial of what you have highlighted. So I don't want to answer yes or no if I can't see the whole highlighted area.
Well, do you see the portion that's highlighted where you say it cuts off?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, thank you. And then you said that you found out about these patients switching services about 6 months ago?
Approximate.
Do you know if it would have been as far back as 9 months ago?
Six months approximate.
Okay. And then you put a value on this loss of patients of $500,000?
That's correct.
How'd you reach that number?
On averages,
And so that would
it can be
be,
more.
would
It could
that
be
be
more, or it could be.
Okay, so would that be a net or a gross figure?
You mean, what do you mean by net or gross?
For the $500,000, is that net income, net revenue, gross income, gross revenue?
That's gross revenue.
Okay. Now, you hired Miss Nunez, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You hired Miss Nunez?
That is correct.
And where did she perform services for Volver a Casa?
In El Paso, Texas.
And the patient list that we've talked about here, the 31 patients, are all those patients located in El Paso, Texas?
Correct.
And let's see. Do you have any kind of agreement that ACO Provider Services has signed?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any kind of non-compete agreement with ACO Provider Services?
No, sir.
And so they wouldn't be subject to this non-compete agreement?
No, sir.
And then I'm going to scroll down. Let me see. And then for this agreement, I believe you said Ms. Nunez wouldn't have had any input into the preparation of this agreement. It was presented to her to sign.
Yes, that was my statement.
Okay. And so that would have been the same for the two agreements, right? For Ms. Becerras and the same for this agreement for Ms. Nunez?
Yes, sir.
And I believe I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. If I may try to use the screen, or share screen.
Mr. Lopez already stopped sharing. You can share whenever you'd like.
All right. Second, Your Honor. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Mr. Flores, can you see the screen as well?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see.
The way you're presenting this document, I can see the whole entire document. I don't know why.
Can't hear
The other
him.
things-
We can hear him.
Yeah, I could barely hear you. You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay. I can see the entire document now.
That's the tone you need to keep, Mr. Flores, because in that tone, we cannot hear you.
Yes, Judge.
I'm going to read a section of the contract to you, this confidentiality agreement. Is that okay, Mr. Flores?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is section 2.2. I believe it's a relatively straightforward section. A contractor will not either directly or indirectly participate in recruiting or hiring away any employees or independent contractors of company, or encourage or induce any employees, agents, independent contractors to invest in company, terminate their relations with the company, unless given the prior written consent of the company's chief executive officer. Did you ever give consent to either Rostro Angelica to contact your employees?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance.
No, sir.
Plaintiff's petition and the application for injunction only references the actions of diverting customers away from the business.
Your Honor, I'm trying to just point out to a breach
I'm
in
sorry.
the agreement.
Okay, go ahead and rephrase.
Oh, me, Your Honor?
Yes, rephrase your question.
That, what I just read you is pretty straightforward, right, Mr. Flores?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And going back to section 2.3 and 2.4 in regards to Hidalgo County, it being limited to Hidalgo County, this contract, this restriction on unfair competition and restriction on interfering with, I'm sorry, no, a restriction on interfering with client and customer relations. It's to your understanding that because you have all your files, all your information regarding your patients here in Hidalgo County, that any claim was to be opened up here in Hidalgo County.
That's correct.
Did you ever receive any documents of notice from either Rocio or Angelica regarding waivers of this agreement?
Your Honor, objection relevance.
Your Honor, in regards to section 2.6 of this contract, Your Honor, if there's any challenge regarding, this contract, Your Honor, it was to be the duty of defendants, Rocio and Angelica, to give notice to plaintiff. If not, then basically they're waiving any clarification of this agreement, Your Honor.
Okay, overall, I'll allow the question. Go ahead.
And Your Honor, if I may respond just briefly. Section 2.6 of the contract is the provision he's referring to regarding waiver. And that provision states if the contractor wishes to later challenge any provision as unclear, unenforceable, or inapplicable to any competitive activity that the contractor intends to engage in. And I don't think that's the position here at all. The contract itself is clear that it's limited to Hidalgo County. So we're not trying to challenge that provision.
Your Honor, I mean, there is only 2 sections in this contract that references Hidalgo County. The entire contract in general, Your Honor, there is other sections that doesn't reference Hidalgo County. This contract, Your Honor, as stated, was signed in Hidalgo County, Your Honor. There's even a section that they are agreeing to if there's any basically claims regarding this contract that they're giving themselves up to venue here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor, in section 3.0. But if I may continue, Your Honor.
Yes, you may continue.
No, it's this one. Can you guys see this right here? Is it? Mr. Flores, you mentioned earlier that both Rocio and Angelica signed a confidentiality agreement of patient health information and personal information in accordance with HIPAA, high-tech law, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it was signed in Hidalgo County, correct?
Correct.
And I'm going to read you a paragraph from that agreement, okay? Upon termination of my employment, I will immediately return all property to my employer. Further, I agree not to solicit any of the customers or employees of employer for any period of for any purpose for a period of 2 years after termination. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
And to your understanding, defendants are not to solicit any customers. It doesn't say Hidalgo County, correct?
Correct.
And again, Angelica and Rocio signed these agreements.
Yes, sir.
No more further questions, John.
I have no further question, Judge.
Okay, and Mr. Lopez?
None right now, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Gonzalez, who's the next witness?
Your Honor, if I may call Angelica Becerra.
Okay, Ms. Becerra? Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, will you continue to be sharing that screen?
Oh, how do, yeah, sorry. About that. Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Angelica,
Yes.
do you know Rocio Nunez?
No.
So when you were working with Volver a Casa, you never had any interaction with her,
No.
even though you had the same job title as her?
Yes.
You do realize you're under oath right now, correct?
Yes.
You left Volver a Casa, was it because of better pay and benefits?
Yes.
And that employer is All Generations?
Yes.
And you get bonuses as an employee of All Generations?
Bonuses?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Do you get any added monies aside from your salary, regular salary?
No, I just have my regular salary.
So no extra incentives, anything like that?
No,
What is your position there?
I am a office manager, PHC manager.
And what are your duties?
I oversee the marketers that are here in our satellite office.
Okay. Do you know what HIPAA is?
Yes.
Can you, what is HIPAA? In your own words.
Confidentiality, yeah.
In your own word.
Confidentiality. We don't discuss patients, anything, nothing. Everything's confidentiality.
Have you ever kept patient information that you weren't supposed to?
No.
Do you know what the repercussions are if a violation of HIPAA occurs?
Not fully.
So then you don't fully understand HIPAA.
Well, I do, but I mean, I just know it's confidentiality as far as what would happen if I were to say something. Is that what you mean?
My question was if you know the repercussions of a violation of HIPAA.
The repercussions, no.
Do you know if the elderly have any certain rights?
Yes, they have rights.
What are those rights?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for legal conclusions, legal knowledge.
In your opinion, what are those rights?
Same objection.
Yeah, you might want to rephrase that question, Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I'll take that one back. Do you know if there is rights for the elderly?
I know the elderly have rights. Yes.
Is one of them not to exploit or solicit them?
Yes,
So you're aware of that?
of course.
No more further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Your Honor, I'm going to reserve my questions until we present our case. So I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Lopez?
Your Honor, none at this time.
Okay,
If I may call Neftali.
Mr. Guajardo? Okay, can you hear us, Mr. Guajardo?
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, you may proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Mr. Neftali?
good, thank you.
Are you familiar with the corporate structure of All Generations?
Yes,
And what is that?
I'm the owner administrator. Then we have alternate administrator, director of nurses, and so forth.
So you're the owner, you're the one on top essentially?
Yes,
Okay. And All Generations is based here in McAllen.
yes.
And do you have satellite?
Well, I'm sorry. We're based in Edinburgh,
You're based in, okay, in Hidalgo County.
Hidalgo County.
And do you have satellite offices elsewhere?
Yes, I do.
Where?
El Paso.
Is that the only place?
Yeah.
Mr. Guajardo, it's yes or no, okay, not yet. Please,
Yes,
just,
ma'am.
just for a clear record.
Sure.
Okay. Who is are you the supervisor of Angelica?
I am I'm the administrator. I'm not her direct supervisor. I'm the administrator.
Okay. But you know of Angelica, right?
Of course, I hired her. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
You hired her personally?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever instruct her to make contact with any patients, other patients of other agencies?
No.
Did you ever ask her to make contact with any employees of other customers?
No.
So if in fact Angelica did make contact with any of patients or employees of other agencies, you would know. As a
I
supervisor-
would know as much as I'm informed. You know what I mean? I don't know what I don't know.
But you supervise your employees, right?
I'm the administrator. I'm ultimately responsible for the employees.
So any actions of the employee, essentially, you would be responsible.
If it's something that I'm aware of, yes, I'm responsible for that. If it's something that I'm not aware of, I cannot claim responsibility for that.
Angelica is an employee of All Generations, correct?
Yes.
When you receive a new patient, do you ask this patient if they had a previous home health agency?
No.
You don't?
No.
How do you get new patients?
Well, word of mouth. You know, we have flyers. We promote it. We in the community.
How many patients do you have right now, more or less?
Specifically in El Paso or period in the company?
In El Paso.
Objection irrelevant.
Your Honor, if I just may ask two more questions in regards to this topic.
But the objection was relevancy, and that is.
Your Honor, it's relevant in the sense that I'm trying to figure out exactly how many new patients they've, I guess, obtained in the past several months, Your Honor. So I believe it's relevant to the fact that, again, the issue here is my client losing patients, Your Honor. So I believe it's directly relevant.
This was normally called a fishing expedition, Judge. He hasn't tied it to this particular case.
Your Honor, again, there has been some testimony today that Angelica made contact with an employee of Lovera Casa, Your Honor. There is that connection right there, Your Honor.
I'm gonna allow him to answer as to how many patients he has in El Paso.
Mr. Neftali?
Yeah, I mean, I have about 160 clients in the El Paso area.
Okay. How many patients have you gained in the past 3 months?
In the El Paso area?
Yes.
Irrelevant, Judge. Objection.
Your
Overruled.
Honor, again, I believe it's relevant to the fact that, again, there
I
has been,
overruled. Just have him answer, Mr. Fajardo, if you know.
How many clients that I've gotten from the El Paso area? I cannot give you a number.
okay,
I was not prepared for this question.
okay. But you have a full list of patients.
I have a census, yes. We have a software system that provides us a census of all our clients, yes.
And again, some of these, when you get a new client, you don't ask who referred them, or do you?
No, I mean, they come in through various ways, do it. No, I don't have a direct way to tell you who brought in, what brought in, exactly, no.
So it's possible that maybe one of your employees directed a patient to All Generations.
What do you mean? What are you trying to say?
My question is, you mentioned that you don't have a referral system, or you don't ask your patients where they came from, right? You said you don't know where they come from. So it's possible that a patient came from an employee referral.
We'll stipulate that anything is possible, Judge. Anything is possible.
Okay.
So that's been answered. Okay, go on.
Yes. No more further questions, John.
And I'll reserve my questions to the time we present our case, Judge, or defense.
And no questions, Your Honor.
Your next witness.
I believe that's it, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, we have some legal matters, Judge. I guess we can argue them now, or I don't know if we go to the court virtual room, or
Do you want to discuss anything in chambers, or do you want to get to your
no,
argument?
we'll go ahead and do it with the presence of all the witnesses.
Okay.
Judge, at this time, being that the plaintiff has rested their case, we believe that it would be proper for the court to deny the injunction, because as the Supreme Court has stated regarding the temporary injunctions or the granting of temporary injunctions, the plaintiff is required not only to plead, but also prove 3 specific elements. Number 1, that he has a cause of action against the defendant. Number 2, and this is one of the more important ones, Judge. They're all important, but this is one where I think it's obviously lacking. A probable right to the relief that's sought. And the other one is a probable, imminent, and irreparable injury in the interim. So going back to some of the first element, the cause of action. Well, I believe that he has pled basically a breach of contract and some tort actions, but they sound in contract. In other words, everything goes back to the non-compete agreement. So the issue would be, if the non-compete agreement is not effective or valid as to the elements or the testimony and the evidence that has been presented, then there is no cause of action. And so for that, we go to the plain reading and the 4 corners of the anti-competition agreement that they have. And number 1, I can put it on the screen, Judge, but I'm sure the court has already seen the elements that are in issue. And the first one, of course, is that we're saying that this agreement, which is a non-compete agreement, which are normally above a regular agreement, these are really suspect because there's public policy considerations. And the public policy considerations are that our laws usually do not want to restrain competition. So if you're going to have a non-compete agreement, then they have to be reasonable, Judge, and they cannot be against public policy. And Corpus Christi has already ruled, and as the Supreme Court has ruled, is that in order to be able to enforce a non-compete agreement, it has to be reasonable and limited as to time and geographic distance. The time, 2 years, has been determined to be a reasonable period of time. Beyond that, it's suspect. The other thing is the geographical limitation. In other words, you cannot hire an employee and tell him or her that she cannot engage in a similar business above 100 miles. Corpus Christi has determined 100 miles more or less is the is something that they found reasonable. A non-compete agreement that was limited to 100 miles. Here, the testimony from the plaintiff quite clearly says that they are making an effort, or it's their position, that this agreement that by its own terms is limited to Hidalgo County is basically enforceable throughout the state. They have offices in Corpus, El Paso, Eagle Pass. So if the court were to accept or adopt their interpretation, even though it's very clearly that it says that it's limited geographically to Hidalgo County, they would have I guess a geographical limitation will probably be without limit, because I can't think of another city that's further from Hidalgo County than El Paso. It takes around 12 hours just to get over there driving. And so their position would be if Ms. Becerra or any of the other employees that they hire, if they go to Del Rio, they go to Eagle Pass, Corpus, El Paso, they're saying that they're subject to being sued and getting an injunction against them. So that's one. By its very terms, the agreement says that it's limited to Hidalgo County. All the evidence or the testimony that the court has heard from their witnesses, everybody has testified that all the events that's the basis for this lawsuit based on this agreement occurred in El Paso, Texas. There was not one word or one exhibit or anybody testifying that any of the actions complained about occurred in Hidalgo County. So that in and of itself, Judge, is it shows that they cannot meet their first element, which is a cause of action against the defendant, because they haven't introduced any evidence that would give rise to a potential breach of contract or a fraud or conduct that occurred in Hidalgo County, Texas. That being the case, the element number 2, a probable right to the relief sought, there are 2 problems with that. Number 1, the contract is limited to Hidalgo again. That's one of their main problems. Additionally, what you have heard from the defendant is that they're seeking injunctive relief. And to be entitled to injunctive relief, you must show that their damages are irreparable. In other words, they cannot be quantified into money damages. You heard from Mr. Flores himself that he calculated the money damages that he has suffered up to this point. In fact, he was very clear, and he said that $500,000 is the damages that he has lost. So by his own testimony, he's already telling the court, I have an adequate remedy at law, which is the money. I can calculate the amount of gross income that I have lost because of the loss of these patients. Assuming that that was the case, that they could show that due to the violation of the agreement, he suffered those losses. Now, if he has said, well, it's incalculable, I cannot calculate the damages or whatever, that's why I need the equitable powers of the court to stop what I cannot quantify as the damages. And so that being the case, that their probable right on the contract does, in our opinion, is invalid, or they cannot show a probable right. And because he quantified his damages. Remember, the court has to base his decision based on the testimony that was presented. And he was very clear, $500,000. Whether that's correct or not, that's an additional admission that he can quantify damages. Therefore,
Mr. Lopez, do you want to add something before I allow Mr. Gonzalez to?
Just briefly, Your Honor, for purposes of the record, my clients adopt the arguments made by Mr. Rodriguez that the non-compete agreement signed by Ms. Nunez in two places limits the non-compete to Hidalgo County, and specifically those paragraphs prohibit her from going to competing business in Hidalgo County or taking any customers or clients physically located in Hidalgo County. The contract says that if it has a business front in Hidalgo County, all of the testimony from the employees and even from Mr. Flores, they've admitted the actions complained of are in El Paso County. Second, there's no contract limiting ACO provider services. They weren't a party to the non-compete agreement. And also there was no testimony regarding any actions taken by ACO provider services. None of the witnesses said ACO providers did this, ACO providers did that. Mr. Flores didn't even mention ACO provider services. So I think definitely as to ACO provider services, there's simply no evidence which would support the granting of an injunction. And lastly, as Mr. Rodriguez said, in order for an injunction to issue, it has to be probable, imminent, and irreparable injury. They've identified money damages through his testimony, but also more specifically in their petition, they claim they have been monetarily damaged by the loss of these clients. Now, we disagree with the amount that they've claimed they've lost or that we have any liability for that. However, for the purposes of the extraordinary remedy of an injunction, the evidence shows that there are money damages that could possibly be recovered, and the plaintiffs testified to an amount. So the application for injunction should fail on those grounds, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, today we heard testimony in regards to Socorro, right? Speaking in regards to her direct contact with Angelica, Your Honor. She contacted, of course, Angelica contacted Socorro, Your Honor, and try to hire Miss Socorro over to All Generations, Your Honor. Also, too, it's as per the testimony, Socorro mentioned that she was under the impression that the client, after that, the client that she was referring to was a patient of Volver a Casa, Your Honor. We also heard testimony of Rocio in regards to that she admitted to taking clients from Volver a Casa, Your Honor. Another thing too, in regards to limitations here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor, these contracts were signed here in Hidalgo County. Hidalgo County has venue, Your Honor. Not only that, but aside from the confidentiality agreement, Your Honor, I did present the court a confidentiality agreement that was signed that essentially said no solicitation or no solicitation of clients or employees, Your Honor. They signed it here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor. They have violated that in the sense of they made contact with employees of Volver a Casa. They have made contact with patients of Volver a Casa. You heard as well, Your Honor, from testimony of Vilma, as well as Joe Flores, Your Honor. They did an investigation, Your Honor, and through their investigation, they discovered that these patients had been contacted by both Rocio and Miss Angelica, Your Honor. The cause of action, yes, there's a breach of contract, Your Honor. The breach of contract, of course, would be the confidentiality agreement. And then not only that, but the one I just mentioned right now, Your Honor, in regards to non-solicitation of employee or a patient. Also, a tort claim, Your Honor, of course, that we have is interference with contractual relations, Your Honor. In regards to testimony, for Rocio admitting that she had contact with patients and was picking out patients at Volver a Casa, Your Honor, that's tortious interference with contractual relations of my client, Your Honor. She was aware that there was a contract in place. She willfully committed acts to interfere with these contractual relations. There was a contract between Volver and their patients, and there is actual damages, Your Honor. My client has lost monetary gain. There is that issue in regards to monetary gain, if I may bring it up, Your Honor, as well. I asked Mr. Flores if within a year period, more or less, right? But that's not a for sure thing, Your Honor. That was an estimate, Your Honor. Every patient is a little different. I just asked for a general amount, and that's the amount he mentioned. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little less, Your Honor. I do think, Your Honor, that my client has been irreparably harmed, Your Honor. He has lost clients, 31 clients to be specific, as you heard the testimony today. And Your Honor, if this injunction isn't in place, Your Honor, he's gonna lose more clients. There has been, I think, sufficient evidence to show that there is, some sort of interference between All Generations, ACO, Angelica, and Rocio, Your Honor. Of course, Rocio and Angelica being representatives of these companies, Your Honor, they essentially, the companies being their employers are also liable for the actions of their employees, Your Honor. So if there's there is a probable right that there is, again, solicitation, that it's illegal, Your Honor, under, Texas law, Your Honor. You can't solicit, elderly people in regards to this field, Your Honor. And lastly, Your Honor, again, going to the irreparable harm, I mean, he has been irreparably harmed, Your Honor. You heard testimony today. Furthermore, there was some testimony that, the referral list that they had went missing. And I mean, those referrals, lead to patients. They have the patient's information, Your Honor. And you heard testimony today that Rocio has been in contact with patients of Volver. You heard testimony that Angelica was contacting employees of Volver a Casa, and seemingly through the, through the testimony and research of Joe and Vilma, that they, through their clients, gained the knowledge that Angelica and Rocio have been attacking, have been trying to take these clients from, these patients from my client, Your Honor. Your Honor, again, the main thing too, I know they had mentioned that everything happened in at Boston, Your Honor. That's not true. These contracts were signed here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor. Venue is valid here, Your Honor. And again, my client is going to be irreparably harmed if there isn't an injunction. I do believe that a reasonable jury as well, Your Honor, can maybe interpret the contracts a certain way, Your Honor, in the sense that, you know, Hidalgo County could mean because Mr. Flores has all his information here in Hidalgo County, any claim regarding Vuelo Veracasa would be brought here. And then lastly, again, repetitive, but they sign contracts here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Rodriguez, you're on mute, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, no, two quick points, Judge. One of the deals is that there's no dispute that the contracts were signed here in Hidalgo County, Texas, but that is not the test. The test is, what do the provisions of the contract address? And they're addressing conduct. There would be anti-competitive conduct that occurred in Hidalgo County, which the courts have said that's okay for if it's 2 years and if it's limited to a reasonable geographic location. So that's beside the point. That's the only thing that occurred in Hidalgo County, the signing of the contracts. But here we're talking about the acts. The other thing that he mentioned and that I wanted to respond was that I think he made a reference to one of the exhibits that says that it was not limited or did not mention Hidalgo County. Those are documents that were signed at the time that the individual was employed. The non-compete, the HIPAA, the privacy sort of deal. Now, that provision didn't say Hidalgo County, but under the merger doctrine, which basically is that when you have a contract, all documents associated with the main document, which is the contract, the non-compete, and the employment, all of those, although they're in separate pages or titled separately, the merger doctrine here in Texas says that all of them constitutes part of the contract. So because if a page of one of the documents that is merged into the contract does not say Hidalgo County in every page, that doesn't mean that the main provision, which says this agreement is limited to Hidalgo County, along with the case law that says you cannot have a contract that goes beyond the geographical limit, which is reasonable, 100 miles or less, or unreasonable as to time. In other words, just because it doesn't mention Hidalgo County, you cannot have a non-compete agreement that says that, well, it didn't specify that it was only valid for 2 years. Therefore, I can enforce it for 10 years. That's not the way the law works. So the merger doctrine takes care of that argument, and it has no merit whatsoever. The main document, of course, is the contract itself. And the four corners, there's no ambiguity on the geographical location. And then plus, there's still the issue of whether or not it even applies to the patients here, because they chose to define the individuals that it would cover, and patients is never mentioned there. In fact, it leads us astray to manufacturers or retailers and up in chain. So apparently somebody messed up, but the court can only enforce what's written. And so there's no indication that it refers even to this sort of patients. Now, if there's an ambiguity, Texas law says that it's going to be construed against the drafter. And here, there is no question that the drafter is the plaintiff. So if there's an ambiguity as to whether or not it applies to patients, the court under Texas law, Supreme Court law says it has to be construed against them, the ambiguity. It would have been a very simple matter to define patient, which they didn't. So for those reasons, Judge, we believe that the court should deny their temporary injunction.
And Mr. Lopez, did you want to add anything else?
Your Honor, I don't, just real quick, just to point out some stuff. We had some argument that the referral list went missing, but I'd remind the court that the testimony was that she didn't know where the referral list went or who took it. And then also regarding Ms. Medina's testimony, she testified that she actually declined the patient that was offered to her to cover. So again, there's just no testimony to support any kind of allegation that ACO was taking patients. And then lastly, as far as Ms. Nunez being an employee of ACO, at least for the actions that are alleged here, there's been no argument of agency in the, or no allegation for agency liability in the petition. And so I think the contract is clear that if these actions were to have occurred in Hidalgo County and ACO was taking patients into their business in Hidalgo County, we would be probably, stuck up a creek. But the fact of the matter is all this is in El Paso. And unfortunately for the plaintiff, the contract that he had signed by Ms. Nunez is only limited to Hidalgo County.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
Sure.
I guess first I'll respond to Mr. Lopez's commentary right now. Your Honor, it was Ms. Patricia Espinosa, Your Honor, that again mentioned that she spoke with Rocio, and Rocio had a hiccup and mentioned that she's glad that Patricia is working with them now because they've been getting more clients and they've been getting them from Volver a Casa, Your Honor. That statement was pretty clear, Your Honor. In regards to, not mentioning anything regarding agency, Your Honor, in the petition, it does mention, Your Honor, that through these defendants, Rocio and Angelica, working as their, employees, working for their employers, picking up these clients, Your Honor, that's basically agency right there, Your Honor. We did include that in the petition, Your Honor, so that was mentioned in the petition, Your Honor. Going back also, Your Honor, in regards to Mr. Rodriguez's public policy claims, Your Honor, I believe that this contract is in the best interest of public policy in the sense that it's designed to enforce HIPAA. It's designed to also protect the elderly, Your Honor. They don't want, my client doesn't want any illegal activities in picking up patients, Your Honor. Harassment, anything like that, Your Honor. Again, that's covered by HIPAA and by the elderly laws, Your Honor. And going back, Your Honor, to that particular confidentiality agreement of patient health information and personal information in accordance with HIPAA high-tech law, Your Honor, that specific agreement that I mentioned, that it does state, if I may read verbatim, further, I agree not to solicit any of the customers or employees of employer for any purpose for a period of 2 years after termination, Your Honor. I mean, I believe that's pretty clear in the sense that no solicitation at all, Your Honor. You heard her testimony today, again, from Patricia, that there has been solicitation of patients, and Socorro, that at the minimum, Your Honor, Angelica did try to solicit, okay, Socorro, right, Your Honor. And in regards to the merger, in regards to merger, Your Honor, it only, if in fact this everything was merged, but I would object to that, Your Honor. I think every document is its own contract, Your Honor. It even has its own title at the very top, Your Honor. That's pretty apparent. In regards to that, Your Honor, if the court would entertain merger, Your Honor, those two paragraphs relating to Hidalgo County, they're only related to those specific paragraphs, right? That doesn't mean that it applies to the whole, in fact, contract, Your Honor, I would say. But honestly, I would argue, Your Honor, that merger is not applicable. That would be my main thing. And then going back, Your Honor, that specific statement that I mentioned in regards to that contract, I'm going to read it again, just for the record. The confidentiality agreement of patient health information and personal information in accordance with HIPAA high-tech law, Your Honor. Both Angelica and Rocio signed this document. Mr. Joe Flores testified to that effect, Your Honor. And lastly, Your Honor, in regards to the interpretation of patient customer, Your Honor, I do believe that's something that, a reasonable jury could conclude that customer means patient, Your Honor. That client means patient, Your Honor. That's pretty synonymous, I would say, Your Honor. And going back in regards to the elements, there is a cause of action, Your Honor. It is proper, and my client it has lost many clients, Your Honor. So respectfully, in regards to Volver a Casa, respectfully asking, of course, that we continue with this case and that at least in the meantime, that injunction be in place, Your Honor.
Anything else, gentlemen?
One finally, in reference to something new that he raised, Judge, I'm not gonna retread the deal. He says that the word Hidalgo County, or it's limited only in 2 paragraphs in the agreement. Well, if there was no limitation on to a county, if there was no geographical limitation in this agreement, then it would be void as a matter of law. Because the Supreme Court has said you have to limit the enforceability of this anti-competitive conduct to a very narrow geographic limitation. So he cannot argue, well, it's only in these 2 paragraphs, so enforce the rest of the stuff statewide. That, I mean, if that's the argument, and if that's the judicial admission, well, then the whole agreement should just be declared void as a matter of law, as being in violation of Supreme Court law and Corpus Christi law.
If I was, quick response, Your Honor. In regards to that agreement, it was signed here in Hidalgo County, so I believe it's pretty apparent in that sense. But again, you know, I think that this contract could be interpreted to view that, again, because of the fact that my client has his principal place of business, he has everything here, you know, not only that, the Rocio and Angelica did sign it here, they understood here. I believe that it's possible, in fact, also as well, that Angelica and Rocio understood that anything regarding claims against Volver would be in fact dealt with here in Hidalgo County, Your Honor. It's possible that a jury could determine that, Your Honor.
Judge, we're not arguing venue, Judge. He's referring to venue that we're here. We're arguing about the enforceability. And in fact, in the Corpus Christi case, they were trying to enforce a non-compete beyond 100 miles. Now, the argument that he's arguing would be, well, I can sue you in Corpus, even though the conduct was more than 100 miles, but I'm suing you here because we're suffering losses. And here we're way more than 100 miles. We're talking about almost, what, 756 miles to El Paso, way beyond what Corpus said was reasonable. In fact, I'll quote, we hold the area in which the non-competition agreement specified 100-mile radius is reasonable. And I'm reading directly out of the Corpus Christi case, which is cited at AMF versus McBride, decided in 618 Southwest 2nd 105. Decided in 1981, and it's still good law, Judge. I jeopardize it, it's still the law. I have no further.
Anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, so anti-competitive contracts are something that are very common, especially in the health industry. Whether it be a doctor's office, whether it's a PA or an NP, it's very common. And it's very common in home health industries and PHCs and in anything of that source that is relative to the health industry. Now, today I entertained arguments and was very generous with my time with all of you because I feel that every person deserves their day in court. Since the last time that you were here, I studied your exhibits, your pleadings, and your motions very thoroughly because I felt that I needed to be as prepared as you all did or as I expected you to be. And I thank the witnesses for coming forward today, even though it is just, it is a restraining order hearing. However, the attorneys prepared as if it were a little mini bench trial. So I appreciate the attorneys preparing to the extent that they have. So what's really at issue, it's not venue. And I have not heard that venue is even at issue. If you do look at the contract, and I do reference 3.0, governing law and venue. I've heard both attorneys from defense state that they're not stating that venue is at question here. What is at question is whether the actions that are being brought forward by the plaintiff are actionable in Hidalgo County as far as what they have allegedly done. If it did not occur in Hidalgo County, does that mean that you can still sue them in Hidalgo County? Now, we did not get to hear from Ms. Nunez today, but we did hear from Ms. Becerra, and we did hear from additional witnesses. And when it comes to trying to get clients, I don't want to say recruit, but clients from medical equipment businesses, pharmacies, from any other kind of health industry business, it's very common to lose them. And it's very common to also lose the employees. And then you do have the issue of whether the employees are trying to, quote unquote, recruit, for lack of a better word, bring their clients with them. And it does happen. I'm not saying that that is what happened today. I really think there needed to have been more evidence in order for us to have made something conclusive. Now, the fact that Mr. Flores, just taking him at his word, stated that he lost 31 clients in the El Paso County, Texas area, then he was sworn under testimony, and I'll take him at his word that he lost 31 clients in the El Paso County, Texas area. And perhaps after he did his satisfaction survey, he may or may not have conclusively found that that was as a direct result of also losing Ms. Becerra or Ms. Nunez. I'm not satisfied with making a finding, which I don't think is proper at this point, as to whether or not that actually did happen. But whether he lost those 31 clients, let's just take Mr. Flores at his word that he lost those clients. However, the key in today's hearing is that he lost those clients in El Paso County, Texas. He did not lose those clients in Hidalgo County, Texas. Had Ms. Becerra and Ms. Nunez been, for lack of a better word, accused of having this conduct occur in Hidalgo County, Texas, then I would say that this contract would be enforceable as to those actions because those things occurred in Hidalgo County, Texas. There's no doubt that they executed those contracts in Hidalgo County, Texas. However, the way that I read the contract, the actions should have occurred in Hidalgo County, Texas in order for it to be an actionable cause of action under the non-compete agreement that she signed. The fact that you may read it differently because of a placement of a comma, I disagree. I think that that comma separates the latter part of that sentence to indicate that wherever those clients may be in Hidalgo County, Texas, is the more appropriate way to read that sentence. And since I'm the fact finder today, it's up to my interpretation. Now, Mr. Rodriguez is correct. Basic contracts law from the first year in law school states that a contract that is at issue at best will be looked at from the perspective or held to the standard of the drafter. And if there's anything that is missing in that contract, then it would be up to the drafter for their lack of putting it in there or for the lack of an explanation. However, it cannot be the people that are signing the contract cannot be held to the standard that the drafter is being held to. So I'm not saying that Mr. Flores has not suffered some type of harm because of the loss of the clients. What I am finding today is that I do not feel that it is actionable because those incidents occurred in El Paso County, Texas. And according to the law and the way that I read that contract, I deny the injunction. Whether you decide to move forward on any part of this would be up to you all as far as what comes next. But that is my ruling for today.
Yeah, we'll submit an order, Judge.
Okay. Best of luck to all the parties, and let me know what it is that we're going to be doing on this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, can I ask a quick question procedurally for you? Since we did have a temporary restraining bond posted, if we wanted to request the court to award fees related to the denial, do you want us to do it by motion? Do you want us to wait and see what's going on first?
I would say that it would be more proper to wait to see what it is that's going to happen in this case, and when the time does occur, it would be more appropriate to do it through a motion.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I am going to set you for a status conference hearing on this case, and I'm going to give you approximately close to 30 days to let me know what it is. That may be too soon, but it's just a status for July the 7th at 9:30 a.m. At which time we can see where it is that we go from here. Okay, that concludes today's proceedings. I'm stopping the live stream and we're off the record. I'm going to ask my staff